Hello, First Things First listeners. This is Skip Bayless. Weekdays on Undisputed, I debate my co-host Shannon Sharp on the biggest sports news of the day. But now it is time for me to unleash in a brand new way. Introducing the Skip Bayless Show. My opportunity to share behind-the-scenes stories about things I've seen and confrontations I've had from decades covering the NFL and NBA. This is an opportunity to go so much deeper into solo opinions that just don't fit in rapid-fire debate. I will respond to your no-holds-barred questions. You can ask me anything about why I've said what I've said, or about what goes on off-camera on Undisputed. Your question should be as provocative as you want. My answer sure will be. New episodes of The Skip Bayless Show will come out each week. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever else you get your podcasts.
Dak Prescott finished this season as the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. So why does Chris Broussard have him on his under duress list headed into Wild Card Weekend? Don't answer, Broussard. We will ask you a little bit later. The Brooklyn Nets Big Three looked unstoppable last night. Should the rest of the league be terrified of the talented trio? Again, a rhetorical question. Moving on. Bill Belichick rocking the Danger Zone hoodie in his always effervescent, colorful, and spirited press conferences. Good Thursday morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. Speaking of spirited and effervescent, Nick Wright, along with Chris Broussard and Kevin Wildes.
Thanks, Jenna.
I'm Jenna Wolfe. Nick, you got your Josh Allen, the Magic Mountain, as you call him. You got Bill Belichick, the Danger Zone. Should Josh Allen be nervous for any reason going up against his team?
I think he's a little nervous. I think the Bills franchise is a little nervous. And I think that's Belichick taking a shot across the bow at Brady's new clothing line. Belichick might be doing his own branding. I like that. I like that, Bill.
Perhaps the opposite of what a clothing line should be. We'll get to all that. We got to start with what Fox Bet's calling the most lopsided matchup this weekend. Steelers at Chiefs. So, if you were watching the show yesterday, our guy Nick coined a new phrase for Kansas City called better than a bye. Yeah, a little cocky, but no, not entirely off base, considering the Steelers needed help just to make the playoffs. But wait, Broussard, you know who else knows this is lopsided? Big Ben. Take a listen.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably 20-point underdogs, and we're going to the number one team that's, I know they're not the number one seed, but they're the number one team that's won the AFC the last 2 years. Arguably the best team in football. We don't have a chance. So let's just go in and play and have fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Clearly, I think a little psychological warfare going on here. I don't know if Big Ben fully, truly believes that. But, Nick, what do you make of Big Ben saying the Steelers, quote, don't have a chance this weekend?
Well, Jenna, what have I always said about Big Ben? That is a savvy, smart individual, and he gets it. He understands what's happening here. He understands. And did you see the little Freudian slip? We're going into the number one team. And then he's like, oh, yeah, damn, the Titans. Okay, yeah, the Chiefs are the number one team. And we don't have a chance. And while Broussard, they are not 20-point underdogs. They are the biggest underdogs in Wild Card Weekend history. And that is indicative of this fact. And you're going to say, oh, Nick, you're being hyperbolic again. But just listen to me here. This is the single biggest mismatch in Wild Card Weekend history. Not just because of the point spread, but because previously, up until last year, a team such as the Steelers would not be in the playoffs as the 7th seed. And a team such as the Chiefs, a top 2 seed, would not be playing Wild Card Weekend. So it is not over the top to say it's the biggest mismatch in Wild Card Weekend history. It is not over the top to say what Big Ben just said, that they have no chance. And I said better than a bye yesterday, and the only real pushback I got, Broussard, was, what about injuries? You don't get hurt on the bye. Yes. And I thought about that, and I was like, you know what? That's a fair point. And that's why, Broussard, if I were Andy Reid, I would consider resting Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill this week. make sure they're primed and ready to go for when the playoffs actually begin. It's ridiculous. Allow
nuts.
me. Just a moment. Just a moment, my friends.
That's one of your worst takes.
When they played the first time.
That might be your worst take.
Okay, well, let me just give a little. Let me give.
Not great.
As the show's historian, let me give you guys just a little bit of data. The first time they played the Steelers, did Travis Kelce play? He did not. The first time they played the Steelers, did Tyreek Hill play? Technically, but not really. 2 catches, limited snap count because they were both coming off the COVID list. Did that hurt them? No, they won 36-10. Oh, Nick, you would never rest a player for a playoff game. Oh, well, before I worked with Wilds and Broussard, but I was working with Jenna, when the Chiefs were playing the Houston Texans, an overmatched Texans team in the playoffs, they sat Chris Jones. Precautionary sitting of Chris Jones. So he was there and ready for when the playoffs really began in the AFC Championship game that year. And by the way, he made the biggest difference in that game. So it is not unprecedented. It is not ridiculous. Tyreek Hill got dinged in that last game, as did Travis Kelce. So Big Ben is correct. Smart Big Ben. Big Ben, by the way, looking a little slimmer in the face. Good for him. I've always liked him. So yeah, I agree with everything he's saying, Broussard.
Yeah.
Everything.
You look, I was agreeing with you until about halfway through your rant. You just went off the rails. All right, there is no way you don't play Kelce and Hill. Look, you can play them in the first half, blow the Steelers out as you're saying they will, and then rest them in the second half if you want. But you got to start the game with those two. And Jenna hit it on the head. These are mind games, and you're clearly falling for him, Nick Wright. Big Ben is in psychological warfare. On 2 counts. For his own players, he's saying, look, and he's right. We're playing with house money, guys. We got absolutely nothing to lose. In fact, we've already won. Just the fact that we're here in the playoffs, just the fact that we didn't have a losing season makes us winners. Let's go out there and have fun. Let's go out there and let it all hang out. And a lot of times when you do that, you play your best. There's no pressure whatsoever. Right. On the other hand, he wants Kansas City to see these interviews and go, even obviously on the surface level, they're going to be like, no, we're into it. We can't take anybody lightly. But in the back of their mind, in the deep recesses of their psyche, he wants them to be thinking, man, Pittsburgh knows they can't beat us. We're going to take these boys lightly. They can't score with us. The same thing that the fans, most notably our own Nick Wright, is doing. That's what Ben wants. And here's what he's hoping, Nick. He's hoping that they can just keep it close. Keep it close because the Steelers are notoriously bad this year in the first half. They scored 22 points in the first half of their last 7 games. And the Chiefs are notoriously good in the first quarters. They're the best first quarter team in the league in scoring, right? But they kind of fade, at least they have this season, as the game goes on. And the Steelers get stronger. Let me see this graphic about Big Ben. Big Ben is a monster, Nick, in the fourth quarter. Look at this. Pretty pathetic in the first 3 quarters. But in the fourth quarter, he turns into the old Big Ben rather than just an old Big Ben. And if Big Ben is thinking this, let's just hang around.
That was a good. I like
Let's
that.
just hang. If we're within 10 points going into that fourth quarter, I got the magic, baby. I've led 52 game-winning drives in my career. That's second most ever. I've led 7 game-winning drives in the fourth quarter and overtime this very season. Just keep it close, TJ. Just keep it close, Minka. Just keep us in the game, Najee. And then I'll deliver in the fourth quarter. Wilds, that's what Big Ben is doing. It's much deeper than Nick Wright thinks. He doesn't see it. Nick Wright doesn't.
So far, if we're keeping track, top 5 worst take from Nick, top 5 great take from Broussard. Well done. Just to speak on Big Ben, to give you the extra W here, Broussard, we just saw in Week 18 all of these teams that took the loser teams, that didn't sound nice, Wilds, that took the underachieving teams lightly lose. Packers lost to the Lions. Oh, but I know you're saying, hey, Packers didn't have anything to play for. Okay, did the Colts have anything to play for? Jacksonville came out loose and free and flowing like Trevor Lawrence's hair, and they lost. So I know we're thinking that it's psychological mind games, but I do think it's not all like sort of reverse psychology. I do think it's some of like, hey guys, let's get out there and play loose, play fun, and see what happens. And it could end up biting you, Nick. Broussard makes a good point. Ooh, it might be upset alert time. He's feeling like Friday.
I'm just
upset alert.
Stressing out. You're
Hold
stressing
on,
him
Wilds.
out.
I just would like you to elaborate, though, because I feel like you only made half your point. You said Broussard had one of the best takes ever. You said I had one of the worst takes ever.
Yeah.
What's your issue with anything I said? Should they not be cautious with Tyreek Hill, who injured his heel? Should they not be cautious with Travis Kelce, who got a little hip stinger? Is that a hip pointer? Is that not something that is relevant for when the playoffs actually begin for the Chiefs in 9 days?
Cautious. I agree with being cautious, but you previously on the show, you were on the record as saying playing the Steelers actually better than the bye because it's good to get some cardio on the weekends. So yes, I do think that you're taking the Steelers a little bit lightly, and resting your superstar
if I may just follow up,
is probably a bridge too far.
If I may just follow up, I said it was better than a bye. I said it's just get some cardio in. 3 hours later, the quarterback of the Steelers said, and I quote, "We don't have a chance." And I understand you guys are going into, your Freud cabinet to explain what he actually meant. I'm going to, just like I took Tomlin at his word that he fell asleep during Raiders-Chargers, I'm going to take Big Ben at his word that they don't have a chance. So I understand you guys are boxed in, because Nick says it, then Big Ben confirms it. So I just think since even the quarterback of the team says they don't have a chance, the Chiefs should just be cautious with who they do and don't play. That's all. That's all. We'll see what happens, though.
It is a good point, but Broussard takes the cake for the line of the segment.
Thank you.
Big Ben of old, not that Big Ben is old. Boom! I loved it. We'll see if that actually is Big Ben in the fourth quarter in this game.
Good luck.
1-0 Broussard. We are switching gears, and this gear looks like the NBA. Nets had the big three together last night. Should the rest of the NBA be terrified of their dominance? You saw the way these guys played last night. They beat a very good Chicago team. That's next.
27-7. Broussard
First things first continues. Brooklyn Nets were in Chicago last night, taking on the Eastern Conference leading Bulls. It's actually fun to say that. Haven't said that in about a dozen years. Kyrie, Harden, and Kevin Durant, the big three, all together for just the second time this season, and it appeared to work. KD at 27, Harden 25 to go along with the season-high 16 assists. So Brooklyn wins 138-112, giving us a little glimpse, a little peek into how good perhaps this team can be when the big three are all out there, prompting this from James Harden after the game.
We can kind of, create something special and do what, I came here and Kevin came here and Kai came here to do. But basically, Sean and Joe and Claire put this team together for. So, we got to get Kai, to be able to play home games. And once we get that, then we can really assess it and figure out what needs to be done, what needs to be changed, or, how great we can be.
Still holding out some kind of hope that in some kind of fashion, we'll see Kai play.
I'm going to give him a shot if I got to.
There's a lot here, but Broussard, what do Harden's comments tell you?
Well, the first thing they tell me is that Nick's greatest nightmare might be close to coming to fruition. That's number one, getting Kyrie to play the home games. But secondly, Jenna, it tells me, I believe, okay. It tells me that KD, Kyrie, and Harden are having conversations about this. This is speculation, but from his comments, I believe they're starting to talk about it. And somewhat maybe even lighthearted. Look, these three guys, and Nick, you know this, these three guys are straight hoopers. All right. They are guys that I bet you they not only want to come together and play together to win the championship, but in their minds, just to see how excellent they can be, how far they can take the game of basketball. Right. I mean, you listen to Kevin Durant and Kyrie talk. Right now, that's what they talk about, mastering your skills, being who you are, being the best you can absolutely be. I think that's a big part of why they want to come together. And so they're probably talking about that. And in the midst of that, you thought, hey, but we need you to play in these home games, my man. How we going to do it? And Kyrie's probably showing them in certain ways, whether it's what he says, his body language, does he laugh about it, that it seems like a possibility, a good one, that he might get vaccinated. Or, Nick, this is a response to a story that was in the New York Daily News yesterday where Stephen Bondi wrote that the law in New York actually would allow Kyrie to play in home games and the Nets would just have to pay a fine. Ultimately, it would become a $5,000 fine for each time he played. Big money to the average human being, but to an NBA franchise, it's nothing. So Harden, they've either been talking about it or Harden is kind of sending out a message to the franchise like, yo, what are we waiting for? Let's get Kyrie on the court and start balling. So I think that's what it is because, Nick, just a week ago, I think less than a week ago, Harden said, I haven't even talked about the vax status with Kyrie at all. So he was avoiding, I'm not even bringing it up with my man. Now all of a sudden he's throwing it out publicly, joking, I'm going to shoot him myself. There's no doubt there's some talks going on behind the scenes about getting him in home games.
That's right.
Go ahead,
Go
Nick.
ahead, Wilds.
All right, we're sorry. This was an awkward moment on the show. I apologize. Oh, thank you, Jenna. I apologize.
No, you do
We're all
it.
gonna. I screwed this up. I screwed it up. Okay, everybody.
Let's talk about it more. Let's talk about it some more.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let's do it one more time. Okay, here's the thing.
Was that a mic drop?
Nick,
it was
this
a mic
is why
drop,
I think,
right?
Yeah, there was. It was really
He hadn't
good.
said anything yet.
There's three paths for him to end up playing at home games. Either ordinances get changed in New York City. That was kicked around with a new mayor. I don't see that happening. The whole take the ticket philosophy, I don't see that happening either. The NBA is going to be in compliance with local ordinances. The vaccination, which Kyrie has hinted at, kind of, and that there was a report that there's going to be I think a vegetable-based vaccine. Again, don't come to your old buddy Kevin Wildes for the most updated vaccine knowledge. Check in with your local doctors. But Nick, this is my biggest takeaway. When Harden was joking about giving him the shot, shows me a thaw in the overall intensity and kind of, I don't know, the lock that their relationship seemed to be under. It was all very much like, that's Kyrie's decision. I'm not going to tell anybody this. And the fact that it's got a little bit of humor to it, I think that is the best sign that Kyrie is kind of leaning towards getting a vaccination. And it's true in any relationship.
Yeah.
On this show, I'll use it as an example. If we're mean to each other, that's the worst kind of chemistry. If you're nice to each other, that is better chemistry. If you're nice but jokingly mean to each other, that's the best chemistry. And that's what Harden and Kyrie had. Like,
right.
Yeah, I'll give him the shot myself. I'll take care of it.
Right.
That is the sign that's the best chemistry and that his hesitancy may be waning a bit.
Right.
Yeah, all that's true.
Agreed.
What's also true is every time this team plays, I feel stronger in my convictions. Because I'm just curious, Jenna, remind me, because it's been about 6 minutes since we rolled the highlights. Who did they play last night? And what happened in the game?
Chicago Bulls.
I'm just curious, Jenna.
The
number 1 seed, right? They blew them out.
Bulls?
Best Nets win of the season. Best game they've played all year. And what's the story? Was Kyrie going to get the shot? Is he going to play home games? What's going on? Guys. They don't have a set continuity. They now don't. Now it is even less continuity. Originally it was, we're going to have all our big 3 for the year. Then it was, we're going to have our big 2, Kyrie's going to be out for the year. Then 2 weeks ago it was, we're going to have Kyrie for only road games, we're going to deal with it. Now it is, we have him for road games, but maybe at some point we'll have him for home games. So do we really need to work on just the KD Harden stuff, or is Kyrie going to be there? Folks, the Broussard's here talking about they came together to not just win championships, but to see how great they could be. Well, the next step in how great you can be is get as far as Trae Young, John Collins, and the Kevin Huerter big three got. Try to get to that step, and then we can talk about all-time greatness steps, okay? Let's try to get to where the Hawks were before we start talking about greatest collections of talent ever. And after their biggest win of the year on national television, where Durant was sensational in the third quarter, Harden was sensational throughout, we're talking about a guy who scored 9 points about when is he going to get the vaccine. I do not believe, Broussard, the Nets have they haven't won a title together. They don't have the history to pull on. They don't have enough of the fabric to do what the Warriors were able to do the last year KD was 2019. I know they ended up not winning it, but that was because of injuries, where there was all this mayhem behind the scenes, but they were fine on the court because they had won championships together. So I think Kyrie's going to get vaccinated? I have no idea. I don't think the Nets know. And I think the whole thing is just it's an insane way to try to run a basketball team. And it is, to me, indicative, Broussard, that after their biggest win of the year, this was the discussion. Not that, hey, we just kicked the teeth in of the number one seed in the conference. I just don't think that's healthy for a team that's trying to win something big.
Well, those Nets back in Brooklyn hosting the Thunder tonight. Let's see how they follow up last night's win. Time, though, for Chris Broussard to break down the Bud list. Break it out, break it down. Will Dak Prescott find himself at the top headed into Wild Card Weekend? This will be a fun discussion. Stick around. We're back after this. All right, it is Bud list time. How about the Bucs? Their repeat run kicks off Sunday on Fox against the Eagles. Tom Brady carved up the Birds' defense back in Week 6. A nice win for them. Big reason why Tampa's favored by more than a touchdown in the wild card rematch. All right, Broussard, if your MVP, Tom Brady, isn't under duress, which 5 guys are on wild card weekend?
Jenna, I know Nick is worried that his man Patrick Mahomes is going to be on the list, but Wilds, I'm coming to you. Mac Jones at number 5. Usually you wouldn't have a rookie making his first playoff start under duress, right? I mean, he's playing with house money. But here's the thing. Mac started out so strong, took the job immediately from the legendary Cam Newton, outplayed Tom Brady in just his 4th career game on Brady's first trip back to New England, and then win 7 straight games. So the bar raised, the standard was raised. So when he struggled at the end of the season, 5 interceptions as they lost 3 of their last 4 games, that was eye-opening for a lot of people, and it kind of outweighs what he did earlier in the season. So if he goes into this game and struggles badly, they can lose. They're the underdog. They can lose. But if he plays poorly and his inability to move the ball downfield, to throw the ball downfield is the reason, then I think Wilds, in New England, not maybe in the organization, but the perception in New England among fans is this kind of another prove-it year for Mac next year. It's okay, let's see what he can do this season, rather than we've got our guy, we made the playoffs last year, now we're going for the Super Bowl. So pressure on Mac Jones. At number 4, we got Cliff Kingsbury. And look, again, similar to Mac Jones, as a coach making his first playoff appearance in just his 3rd year as a head coach, normally you'd be like, nice, this is good. He's not under pressure. 5 wins his first year, 8 wins last year, 11 this year. Looks great. The problem is the way they fizzled at the end of the year. And this has become a real question mark about Cliff Kingsbury. Look at this. This is 3 years with the Cardinals. Through his first 7 games, they're great. And they were this year. They went up to 8-1 this year. Rest of the year, they win 32% of their games. They've lost, 4 or 5 this season. And so if they lose this game, then again, a big offseason topic, preseason topic next fall will be, can Cliff Kingsbury carry a team throughout the season and not fold in the end? At number 3, let's go to Buffalo, Josh Allen. If they lose,
now you're talking
to
about
a divisional
what a
opponent,
list so far.
To a divisional opponent, right? There you go. They lose to a divisional opponent that starts a rookie quarterback that's a wild card in Buffalo. This will just culminate what's been a down year for Josh Allen. Not a bad year, but not up to the standards he set last year. He's down in virtually every category. And the stranglehold that the Patriots have had on the AFC East for 20 years would seem to still be there. I get it that Buffalo's won it last year, won it this year, but if they lose a playoff game to New England, there will be a sense that New England still owns that division and Mac is only going to get better. So that's why Allen's under duress. At number 2, Dak Prescott. The reason Dak is higher than Allen is because Allen's only 25 and in his 4th season. So he's got time. Dak, I'm not saying he's old, but he's 28. He's in his 6th year. He's only won 1 playoff game. At some point, you got to get it done. I get it that he was injured, but still, you got to get it done. And beyond that, the owner, Jerry Jones, we all know, already said, he told The Athletic earlier this week, we have a Super Bowl or bust mentality. He said that is the mentality within the organization. They got a tough game coming up against San Francisco. San Francisco has a great defense overall, but particularly against the run. And if they keep Dallas from running the football, which, Zeke hadn't looked great, let's just keep it real, neither has Pollard lately, then Dak is going to have to do it with his arm, and that's where the pressure comes because a lot of people feel like he can't against elite teams. At number 1, this one should come as no surprise. No, not Baker Mayfield, they're out. It is Matthew Stafford. All right, look.
Oh.
And Nick, you like to rip Jared Goff. Jared Goff was a 2-time Pro Bowler who led this team to the Super Bowl. And again, I think Stafford's better than Goff. He's better than Goff. But you didn't just give up Goff. You gave up Goff, 2 first-round picks, a 3rd-round pick. You didn't do all that to get beat in the first round of the playoffs. You got further than that with Jared Goff last year.
That's true.
You've been to a Super Bowl with Goff. I do think the window for Stafford to win the Super Bowl in LA is 2 to 3 years. So I'm not saying he's got to win it. But if you go out in the first round, that's a problem. He's 0-3 in the playoffs, just 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in his 3 playoff games. And he struggled, Nick, you know this, down the stretch, 8 interceptions his last 4 games.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford is under duress. He's got to deliver.
Oh, quick reveal. All right, well, the graphics team's ahead of me. You did a great job here, but we got to go fast. Oh, no. Put him back. Put that beautiful face back. Let me see it.
Nick,
Mike McCarthy.
every once in a while,
because
you
I
are
was looking
so
at it,
funny.
and I was like, oh, my goodness. Did I make this list? Mac Jones, Cliff Kingsbury, Josh Allen? You're just playing my tune, Broussard, but you missed on one, and it's Mike McCarthy. And here's why. Tail of the tape, Cowboys, Niners. Cowboys have every advantage. And they're healthier, by the way. Meanwhile, the Niners starting quarterback is dinged, and the Niners' best player on their roster, Trent Williams, might not play, isn't practicing. And Dallas is at home. There is no reason Dallas should not win this game. So if they don't, it's going to be because they were out-schemed and out-coached. The only edge the Niners have is on the sidelines. And so, listen, it's all out in front of Mike McCarthy. Got the 3 seed, beat the Niners, who had to fight and claw just to get there. If you can then either beat Tampa or it would be either the Rams or the Cardinals, whomever you would play in round 2, depending on how the bracket falls. You do that, all of a sudden, Mike McCarthy, you can go to Green Bay, stick it to Aaron Rodgers. Be like, hey, the last time you won an NFC Championship game, I was your coach. Now you can't do it without me, buddy. Me and Greg Jennings, we were the key to the whole thing. So, or you lose to Kyle Shanahan, and it ain't great. So I think, Wilds, that if the Cowboys lose, there'll be more scrutiny on McCarthy than on Dak. But otherwise, Broussard is an exceptional list. It's an exceptional list.
Solid list. Except
Bravo,
for
bro.
the Mac Jones part.
Bravo.
Get Mac Jones out of there. Broussard said, it might be a prove-it year for Mac Jones next year. Prove it what? If your only thing to prove is that he's either going to be the baby GOAT and be the heir apparent of Tom Brady, or just a totally awesome quarterback. But it's either way. We're at the top of the mountain when it comes to quarterback greatness. Okay, the person I'm adding to the list is TJ Watt. Here's why. TJ Watt's probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year. He needs to follow in the footsteps of the other Pittsburgh Defensive Player of the Years. Troy Polamalu won 2010, went to the Super Bowl and lost. 2 years before that, James Harrison won Defensive Player of the Year, won the Super Bowl. Do the Steelers need to go to the Super Bowl? No. But you need to have an impact on this game. I need to hear the announcers mention TJ Watt as much as Drake talks about Toronto. Basically every 4 minutes. Like, another reference about Toronto. You'd be like, another reference of TJ Watt. This guy's all over the place. I can't just have a quiet game like JJ Watt has had before, where it's like, is this guy in the game? Is he hurt? You need to be a factor. Go Badgers. Go Steelers.
You never know with JJ.
Go TJ Watt.
All right, and Nick, let me address you for, I do like it. I like the Mike McCarthy thing. Now, I think you think if they lose, he could get fired. I don't see them going that far. All right, if they lose and clock management is his issue, I think Jerry Jones, who seems to love McCarthy, right? He said we all need to give him credit for the Dallas Cowboys resurgence. I think he would just talk to him about, let's shore this up. Get somebody in the box who's telling you when to call time, whatever it is, but we got to shore this up. But you're my guy, I'm keeping you. So that helps him, gives him a little cushion. All right, Wilds, I'm sorry. There is not a Pittsburgh Steeler. There is not a member of the organization. There is not a person in the city of Pittsburgh, heck, the state of Pennsylvania, who is under pressure in this game. I'm sorry, Big Ben is right. Nobody expects them to even come close. So I don't care if TJ gets mauled all night long. Nobody's going to point at him. It's going to be the whole team. So I think you don't live in Pennsylvania. That's my point. But no, I can't put any Steeler on this list. They got house money galore.
All right, well, that segment clearly went to Nick Wright for his reaction to the quick reveal. Mike McCarthy is, in fact, under an enormous amount of duress. Back talking Patriots, Bills. Guys, which is a bigger... Your time is coming, Wilds. You just keep it up. Which is a bigger advantage in round 3? Pats at head coach or Bills at QB1? Break it down with Coach Mangini. Oh, he might take the next segment. Back after. Welcome back. Stories to start your morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Bills Patriots Part 3 from a forecasted frigid Orchard Park this weekend. Single digits at game time. No, -11 is the real feel. So good luck with that, anyone who doesn't love it when it's cold out. Pats won the first matchup with Mac Jones only throwing the ball 3 times. Round 2, a slightly different story. Josh Allen, remember, delivered one of the best performances of his career. And here we are. Round 3 set for this weekend. Chris Broussard, who is the biggest or the bigger advantage here? Patriots at head coach in Belichick or Bills at quarterback in Josh Allen?
Well, obviously the bigger gap between the two is at quarterback. I mean, with all due respect to Mac Jones, Josh Allen is far superior to him as both a runner and a passer and everything else. All right. And while he's also making his 5th playoff appearance, playing in his 5th playoff game, whereas obviously Mac Jones is in his 1st. And then the coaching, obviously you give it to Belichick. But I think Sean McDermott is a very good coach. His staff is very good. And the proof's in the pudding. They've been in the playoffs 4 times in his 5 years in Buffalo. And this was a franchise that hadn't been to the playoffs in nearly 20 years before McDermott got there. So advantage Belichick, but it's close. But all that said, I'm still going with the coaching advantage. Because Josh Allen, even though he's much better than Mac Jones, Nick is right. Nick's always jumping on Allen about being a roller coaster. And he is. And case in point, Wilds, 3 weeks ago against New England, Josh Allen was great. Threw for 300 plus yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks in a W. The next week, the very next week, he goes 120 yards passing, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions against Atlanta. So for your Patriots, you can hope that's the Josh Allen that shows up. So because we don't know which Allen will play, whilst I'm saying the Patriots have the biggest advantage because of Belichick.
Well, then you got to come over and pick the Patriots, Broussard. You're getting there. You know what's interesting about your takes, Broussard? They're not just like you don't land somewhere and stay there. You land somewhere and then you doop, 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 you start to come over. Come on over to the Patriots. Here's the thing. Bill Belichick, of course, will have a game plan. He'll be like, oh, no. The Bills' offense too powerful. Yeah, I know. But haven't you, the greatest show on turf was also very powerful. Sean McVay and that offense also very powerful. Didn't score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Bill Belichick, you always have to think that he has a defensive advantage against a powerful offensive team. And here's one suggestion I want to make to the Patriots coaching staff. Because look, even though it looks like I'm chiseled out of steel, I am not. My feelings are penetrable. And Nick Wright has said for weeks on end, Mac Jones, the baby goat, was emasculated and humiliated when you didn't let him throw a pass out there. I said, that's nonsense.
Yeah.
And every week, Mac Jones starts to slide. Is it the rookie wall or does Nick Wright have a point? He might have a point. So my suggestion is this. Air that thing out early and often, Nick. Just like Brandon used to talk about how like Odell needs to get going early, get him a little bubble screen, let him go. Just like in basketball, hey, get everybody their shots. I need the Patriots offense and Josh McDaniels to let Mac Jones get a little bit of confidence by throwing the ball. And I admit, DVR this right now, Nick Wright, you may have been right about the Bills game, and you have a valid point. It's the last time I'm going to say it on the show. I hope you got it on video.
Yeah, unfortunately, Wilds, the numbers say that's not the way to win because in the last 2 years, the Patriots are 0-3 against the Bills when their quarterback throws at least 4 passes. But they're 1-0 when he throws fewer than 4 passes. So I do think that is the game plan here. However, I'm going to give you some hope here, Wilds, because I think I agree with Broussard. The bigger gap is Allen to Mac. Because the Bills have an excellent head coach and an excellent coaching staff, even though Belichick is obviously the better of the 2 head coaches. However, it's almost an impossibility that Belichick has a bad game. So he's going to have that advantage, even if it's not massive, no matter what. Josh Allen can play as poorly as Mac Jones is going to play. Like, Josh Allen absolutely can be as bad as Mac Jones will be. And Mac Jones can't be as good as Allen will be if Allen's good. But Allen can be as bad as Mac. So if that happens, listen, you guys are live dogs here. And it's freezing cold. Josh Allen doesn't like the cold. You're live dogs. I'm telling you, you should feel good.
Gotta go. See you tomorrow.